It's scary, and I think that there was this misconception that because you can't see the red as much in darker skin, that it was less sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know that in many ways it's more sensitive. It's more prone to hyperpigmentation, it's more prone to scarring, and so I think it's been kind of like a paradigm shift. But earlier on, the pictures I have from, even 10 years ago that people were doing to darker skin is scary.
It's scary, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And welcome to Guess Who's in My Chair.
I'm excited.
We first met at our old salon downstairs. Mm-hmm. You were in Mickey.
Yes.
We had an event celebrating Mickey Taylor's book.
Yeah.
Julie was there, and I thought it was wonderful that Dr. Rosemary identified you, because someone asked her about hair restoration and hair loss, this, that, and the other. And she recommended you, and I was like, because as you know, I still have all my hair, but I don't. And you told me I needed 200 here and 200 here.
Yeah, like a tiny trans. If you wanted. Of course you could do more, but you look good just like this. But if you wanted a little bit, you could do a mini transplant.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to talk more about that because I still don't know what it really means.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get there. But we met, and I guess over the years as a hairstylist who really identified my purpose in helping to resolve a lot of the issues with particularly Black women, because it's not something I intended on as much as I discovered when doing a product line I wanted to cater to all people who came out of the woodwork were the most underserved and underrepresented, which were Black women.
Yeah.
And I knew a little something about their hair texture just from being in fashion and beauty and having just caught a lot of really good relationships with Black models and some of their struggles and how I helped them to navigate, make sure you get your hair done before you go on a shoot, this, that, and the other, because of the stories that, showing up and the hairdresser not being able to do your hair and showing up with a hot iron and no moisture and, so on and so forth. So that's really where my love for trying to crack the code and figure out how this really works.
Yeah.
Also, I discovered that hairdressers are not doctors. Estheticians are not doctors. And when Tamiko Frazier, which was Maybelline's first Black African-American spokesmodel for the multi-million-dollar campaign, all her hair fell out.
Yeah.
And she had a great doctor in DC, and we went to speak to him and cultivated some type of relationship with him, but we didn't really we didn't stay in touch so much. Even with myself as a just I'm the consumer. Everything that I've done has been from the standpoint of the consumer. I never had a dermatologist. I was always told to go have your freckles checked. And I had been to dermatologists in the past because I had really severe acne scarring, and I'm talking about the age of 20 in San Francisco, identifying a really, acclaimed dermatologist. I had one dermatologist to tell me, this is probably in 87.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this, what we could do was we could take off the top layer of your skin and perforate the acne scarring from underneath.
Oh, no. Really?
I said, what did you just say?
Yeah, really?
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Was he fucking with me?
Wow. I hope so. I hope he didn't actually do that to other people. That's terrifying.
So, by the time I left San Francisco, summer '89, I worked for Neiman Marcus, and one of the hairstylists went on Accutane. It was still a little bit of controversy because if you were pregnant, did weird things to you, it kind of made you kind of cuckoo.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck that, I'm trying this. Because, growing up with acne, when I say growing up with acne, I looked like a girl up until the 10th grade. And I was teased, because I was so kind of soft and slender and had big red hair and soft.
Gorgeous, I'm sure.
Soft, pretty freckles.
Jealousy, the jealousy.
Then I entered high school with acne, and acne scarring. It was devastating.
Yeah.
Cysts, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's
and
traumatic.
then you get into the beauty industry. I decide I'm gonna become a hairstylist, and I got so interested in how I looked. I hesitate to say obsessed.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I left San Francisco and I did 3 months of Accutane. I don't know why I jumped
Only
straight
3?
from that to that. No, I'm sorry, 30 days of Accutane
That was it.
on a small dosage.
Yeah.
And it worked.
30 days. Wow. I always tell my patients that too. You know, historically we do 6 months, but I
Well, I
personally
was
did
so
3
freaked
months.
out
Yeah.
because it was still a new drug. It came out in 86, 87. Yeah, I was just nervous.
Yeah.
You know, I came from a bunch of, I was raised in my adulthood, early adulthood when I left my family by a bunch of acid-taking queens
Yeah.
in San Francisco that were vegetarian harmonic convergence,
Yeah.
kumbaya,
Yeah.
you know, spiritual, this, that, and the other. And as many fun drugs as we took, we also, you know, take your vitamins, eat this.
Organic.
We're all going to share everything says, yeah, it was no chemicals
Yeah.
besides acid. But so I got when I decided, you know, I got to the East Bay, and moved to San Francisco shortly after that. I got really into my looks.
Yeah.
Because it was the 80s and fashion and also like spending time on like, you know,
birth of self-care.
taking care of your skin. And as damaged as it was from the acne scarring, I was just always on this quest to fix it. And it was a deep insecurity that I had to cultivate a confidence in spite of that insecurity, in one of the most segregated gay places in the world, which was San Francisco at the time.
Yeah.
And they were all white men with their shirts off, and they didn't want me,
Tough.
and I didn't want them, and it was all very. It was a challenge, as much fun as the escapism was. So upon moving to New York, you know, which is even higher on the you know level of exposure.
Really? More than San Francisco?
No, because San Francisco that wasn't their industry. Beauty was not their industry. Where did you grow up? Houston. When did you move to New York?
16 years ago.
Okay.
No, yeah.
So of course, I like to run my mouth, and I'm going to properly introduce Dr. Michelle Henry. You have your own practice, CEO and founder of Skin Aesthetic Surgery of Manhattan, and that's where I met you. I came to your practice for reversing the side effects of aging.
That's what we do.
And I discovered after we met at that last at that panel discussion that we did with one another that all of my girls go to you.
I'm very lucky, like you. I have the best patients.
But
in all
they're
of Manhattan.
black women. They're beautiful black women that you look at and you're like, you go to who for what? What does she do?
Yes, my work is done.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, you go to, but what does she do? The phrase black don't crack, it don't, but right.
It sags, it sinks, it dulls.
Yeah. And my grandmother, I look at my grandmother in her 90s, and she didn't have any wrinkles.
Yeah.
Something dropped, but there were no wrinkles.
That's the perfect description of how we age.
Yeah.
We don't get the fine lines, that we sink, we sag, and a trained eye.
The volume leaves your face.
Exactly.
Right. You also are the founder of the Henry Research Group. What is that?
So it's a research group, and what we do is we focus on enrolling women and men of color in research trials. Because what happens, we're doing primarily aesthetic trials, but what happens is that these companies aren't focusing on, you know, black and brown individuals at all, and then we're kind of learning after it's on the market already, you know? And so then who's suffering?
Yeah.
You know, like basically we're letting the consumer be the test dummy for a lot of these.
Right.
And so we really need a push to make sure that we have started with these patients in mind. And the FDA is also pushing for it now because we've had a lot of bad outcomes because we're not enrolling Black and brown patients.
And
so that's our job.
And the skin is different.
Very different. The approach is different. The techniques are different. And you're taking the best of the best out there who may have never injected Black skin.
Yeah.
They don't know what to expect.
Estheticians started doing what's the
like lasers?
not
or
laser.
Chemical peels.
Chemical peels.
Yeah.
Was it chemical peel or dermabrasion? I think it was remember Bliss, Marcy Kilgore at Bliss?
Yeah.
Marcy started doing dermabrasion.
Dermabrasion,
right?
exactly.
And I had it done. I had rough skin.
Yeah.
Because I was doing everything to diminish the scarring or the acne on my face. So I could handle anything. But a Black makeup artist friend of mine had went to have the same service done, and it jacked her skin up.
People just did not know.
It was like, thank God she came back from it.
Yeah.
She's probably a little lighter than you, but it resulted in really blotchy skin.
It's scary. And I think that there was this misconception that because you can't see the red as much in darker skin, that it was less sensitive. Now we know that in many ways it's more sensitive. It's more prone to hyperpigmentation. It's more prone to scarring. And so I think it's been kind of like a paradigm shift. But earlier on, the pictures I have from, even 10 years ago that people were doing to darker skin is scary.
It's scary, right?
Yeah.
What about hair?
Yeah. So there's, as you know, there's an epidemic of hair loss in the Black community.
But there has been.
Yeah, for forever.
Since the 80s.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what we did was concealment. We'd hide it, we'd conceal it.
Do you know why the 80s?
Then you tell me, but the introduction of, I guess, hot styling and chemicals, and we started to do more chemicals. Yeah.
No, I think this is my take on what happened to Black women and their hair. There was the first natural hair movement was out of a fight for civil rights, right? In the 60s and 70s, and the attention to my Blackness, the pride, and natural hair and Black beauty, and celebrating the enormity of one's afro, right, was a thing. And even getting it pressed. But pressing hair back then was partly due to Black people are some of the most conservative people on earth. Yeah. And for a special occasion, you got your hair pressed for church, a wedding. It wasn't because you were assimilating to straight hair. Yeah. There might be
special event.
Yeah. There might be some exposure to whiteness that is inspiring in terms of, because I often look at, had beauty magazines or beauty Bibles of over the years been inclusive of everybody, we wouldn't be talking about a white girl in braids or cornrows. We wouldn't be talking about a Black girl in blonde hair. They could all do what they wanted to do.
Absolutely.
But it sets up this hijacking of one's culture when you start to take from one's culture and not feature her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that. But for me, I think that after, some might argue through affirmative action, that people of color, particularly women, in the 80s, and this is what I noticed, is that we could move into a higher education or corporate America. And in the 80s were really where Black women, and no Black woman was going to risk 60% chance of rain in a Sunday press and go into a white corporate environment and have it rain on her. So relaxers became more convenient. And that was in the very early 80s, am I right? Well, the early 80s, late 70s. Yeah. Micro braids, weaves, and now I can put this away completely because the success that I'm gaining in this new position. Yeah, I mean it's an enormous thing generationally how Black people came into any kind of wealth. So yeah, and that's where I started. That's where we first started hearing terms like no edges and hair loss, right? Even the models, the handful of Black models in the 90s. Tamiko, Veronica, Naomi, and so on and so forth. they were getting touch-up relaxers while the weave was in the hair that was worn for 3 to 4 months at a time.
Wow.
I remember Tamiko, when she got her contract with Maybelline, she had a full weave, and we were so excited about this opportunity this year. It was huge, right? And girl, we're going to make you look good, and such. So we would, I think one time we took the weave out. We were like, we're just going to wear it short. We took the weave out, and it was kind of like a little short, kind of layered, bobbish, layered, pixie bob, whatever. And
I feel like I remember.
All of a sudden, the entire top broke off. It was hanging on like a thread.
Yeah.
All of this whole crown area. And there was a little piece of, there was a section here. And for a couple of weeks, we would just make sure that we covered the top. It was gone.
Wow.
And the
so
brilliant...
rapidly. It went rapidly.
And bald. Because remember, she was getting touch-ups while with the leave out while she was still in the weave.
Yeah.
And so she bit the bullet, and it was her choice. She cut it, we cut it off.
Wow.
And the great thing about Maybelline was, because that's a huge deal, risk, to have gotten a contract, a multi-million-dollar contract, a black model. Yeah. Their first black American spokesman, right?
And I'm sure it was was it in the contract that she couldn't change her look?
I don't know if it was in the contract, but she showed up with all her hair cut off.
Wow.
And they embraced her.
I love it.
Yeah, Maybelline was like, shout out to Maybelline.
Yeah. Buy some on the way.
Hello, yeah.
On the way home. That's amazing.
It was an amazing thing, and they rocked her natural hair for many seasons, right?
And they healed so many people with that. And encouraged so many people with that.
They have no idea the impact that did. But so that was, many black women were now starting to get the results of what had happened and what the generations had grown up with, getting weaves that were left in the hair for months at a time, braids that were left in for months at a time. So now, you know, back then, before the move to corporate America and higher education, was that person had time, your mother had time to stay home and do your hair constantly. So your hair was thriving, or your grandmother did your hair, or there was always somebody to sit there and care for your hair because there was no rush. I'll never go, like you, we'll never go out of business.
No, you're right.
Because of the journey.
It's that, and I think there are other like genetic factors. Like when you said the top of her hair fell off, but it was from styling. Yeah. We see so much CCCA, which is like a scarring hair loss. Yeah. We see more in black women. And there's been an uptick. I don't know if it's an uptick in women actually realizing this is a problem, there is a solution, maybe I should see a dermatologist. I don't know if more women are aware, so they're coming in, or that there's some environmental factor that we're seeing more of it. But I'm seeing so much more CCCA than I've ever seen before. So
I would say, and this is why I'm really excited for you to come here to brainstorm, because, and no disrespect, doctors are not hairdressers.
Of course.
Hairdressers are not doctors. Estheticians are not dermatologists. And I think that's where it gets really difficult for the consumer to navigate. Exactly. Where and who they should go to for the right information. And I, as a professional, know that I should be taking my lead from a medical doctor. But I also have to know what was taught to me in theory class in cosmetology school, which I have a license for, and am required to identify bacteria, right?
That's why we're sisters. Sister specialties. You know, we have to work together.
Yeah.
Actually, I love that you said that, because I will say, I think a big part of it is not only education on the part of my patients, but also their stylist sending them in and realizing that, hey, I think this is actual hair loss. It's not just breakage, it's scarring. And so it's just education and us working together as a community.
I mean, I've learned a lot through the scarring part of it and identifying, because I think there's this thing. There is, you know, this, as we all know, is the largest organ that we have, the skin on our body. And your scalp is, correct me if I'm wrong, is the same skin that's everywhere else.
Yeah, it's an
except that it makes more hair.
It makes more hair, and it's
than any place else.
Exactly, but because of that, it has more oil glands, and so then it has kind of a different microbiome, like the kind of bacteria that like to live there. It's different because it's oilier, so it's a different environment. You know, it's oilier. It can be more humid, and the kinds of oils that it creates feed certain things. Like different yeasts love those sorts of areas. That's why we see more
Good yeast
severe
or bad
dandruff.
yeast?
Sometimes bad yeast. So we see something called seborrheic dermatitis. A lot of people just call it severe dandruff.
Yeah.
But we'll see it on the scalp, on the beard, on the brows. And that's because that oil feeds a special kind of yeast.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like it's the same, but it has some special features.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I tend to, my belief is that after seeing the behavior of how Black women in particularly have been relegated to certain styles historically,
Yeah.
I believe are circumstantial. There's nothing factual about it.
Yeah.
I think that Black hair is similar. It's kind of like the African American diet. There's nothing factual about it.
Yeah.
It's circumstantial.
Cultural. Yeah, exactly.
We didn't get prime rib.
Exactly.
We got hog maws and chitlins.
Exactly.
And we discovered, thank God, in those environments there was a garden, and all that food was fresh, whether it was from a pig or not. And our grandparents were probably healthier eating that diet because it was all fresh food
Exactly.
than our parents were, because what was the Industrial Revolution where where everything became fast food and yada yada, and the quick manufactured
Processed
food.
and- exactly.
And we're healthier than our parents.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's no mention of the word kinky or curly in any textbook across the globe for a professional who wanted to go to school to get a license to do hair. None of the kinky, curly textures are mentioned. 2 chapters where they don't even mention kinky or curly are the thermally straightening chapter and the chemically straightening chapter. Well, you know they're not talking about women with straight hair.
Exactly. Wow.
So 2 hairstylists that helped to contribute to Milady textbook for cosmetology, Diane Bailey and Diane DaCosta. And they helped to do a supplement into the text, into that textbook. But you don't have to take it to get your license.
Yeah. Wow.
So you have an entire industry of hairdressers who, with no help from anybody but Black women who demanded services and in the industry to change, now understand textured hair
on their own.
On their own, and the trial and error, and that's still not the best way for the consumer to find out information about their hair. But that's why I feel like I fit in helping her navigate that. There still are so-called protective style specialists that are still doing negligent things or not offering enough information on what are protectors, how to care for your hair.
Exactly.
So over the years, I think if the behavior is to not wash my scalp, that can't be good bacteria. And so at some point your scalp, even with relaxers, I remember that there was one of the kind of comments that every Black woman would have was just like, ooh, my stress spot is back here, because in some areas the relaxer will just stop taking. And that was one of the things that we identified with Tamiko. We would touch it up and it would always fall back out. And I've had a hope happen over the years to a client or two where it's just like, oh, your scalp is now rejecting that relaxer. It's not that it's not growing. It doesn't want that. It's telling you it will not produce hair anymore. It will grow, you just can't put relaxer in it anymore. And I thought that was so interesting. But on top of the fact that there's a chemical being put on your skin for many, many years, or there's bacteria breeding, at some point your scalp is going to reject it.
Absolutely. And to us our hair is really important, but to our bodies it's not. It's an accessory. So if you disrupt
thank God for the natural hair movement, right? Because I think that it was for Black women, the natural hair movement was more about preserving my health.
Exactly.
But then would you think that the natural hair movement really ushed in self-care?
I think
that had nothing to do with hair.
Your physical and your mental health.
Right.
And just about like radical self-acceptance in a way that
diet.
we've never done it. Radical
the rate of Black women changing their diets and getting healthier. I mean, they're just
being mindful of what chemicals they put on their
Yeah.
skin, not even on their skin, but also inside of their body.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's radical self-love.
exactly. That's what you have to give yourself in spite of. I've been sending you some of my clients that I think that don't have that. What is it? What do you call that shiny area?
CCCA.
CCCA.
Well, so many types of hair loss can cause that shiny area, but that's just kind of the most severe type of scarring hair loss. Yeah. But there's CCCA. There's something called lichen planopilaris. There are many different like inflammatory scarring hair loss conditions, but the one we see more in women of color is CCCA.
Got it. Well, I'm gonna tell you something. I've changed. I've seen a complete change in some of my clients who came in with CCCA.
Yeah, CCCA.
CCCA.
Central, centrifugal, meaning growing from the center outward. Cicatricial, meaning scarring, and then alopecia, meaning hair loss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who were on all types of medication, and we stopped them from shampooing their hair or using switching the medication that the dermatologist had prescribed them, and stop using the shampoo and using the medication on hair that they were shampooing more frequently with a no such shampoo. And we saw that the inflammation and all came back. The hair got thicker. It got to a point, it got as good as it was going to get.
Yeah.
But you could see the progression,
Yeah.
whether there was permanent hair loss there or not. It was, the scalp was healthier.
Yeah,
no more
amazing.
blemishes.
Amazing.
So I'm wondering if, when you do your product line, if you ever do a product line,
Yeah.
that the delivery system for medication is conducive to Black women's hair care.
Absolutely.
Like a no-suds cream shampoo.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that I bring to the market, of course, is going to have Black women in mind. Like,
Yeah.
I would never bring something to the market that
Because
wasn't-
it's for, if it's good for Black women, you can believe it's better for everybody else.
Exactly. It's going to be more gentle. It's going to be less inflammatory. It's going to be good for everyone, exactly like you said. But you're right.
You're too young to remember the one all we used to have was bar soap to wash our faces with and Vaseline to moisturize.
I may not be too young to remember it, but we were poor enough to remember it.
Yeah.
So that's what I do
Not
remember.
too much Vaseline.
Yeah.
It still goes a long way. What do you think about Vaseline and petroleum?
You know,
Because
it's
I got a lot of hell for
A lot of
putting
people-
mineral oil in Kinky Curling Cream in 2008.
a lot of people get worked up about it, but there's really no data. It's very, very.
I'm
It's
like,
not,
y'all been
it's
putting
not crude
Vaseline
oil.
on your faces for years.
Yeah,
Nothing happened.
it's so purified. It's inert, so we're not really absorbing it. So
Right.
it's better than a lot of the other things that we're using.
Right.
So I'm not opposed to it. I think that a lot of things just like take off and it runs away without with hysteria and no real data. There's no real data saying that it's dangerous. There are a lot of things that I think we can get worked up about, certain ingredients, but that's not one of them.
Well, we also never had the World Wide Web where there was a community formed
Yeah.
of consumers.
Yeah.
And as thankful as I am for them, because they're the ones who really ushered in wellness,
Yeah.
particularly Black women and the wellness surrounding their lives, their hair, their skin, their food intake, diet, all of the exercise. And I say that now because the majority of, not majority, but I have a huge influx of non-Black women who are coming in with curly hair,
Yeah.
who are inspired by the journey of Black women in their hair.
I see that a lot too. It's really
You do,
wonderful.
right?
Yeah.
It is, the
It's
acceptance.
The acceptance and the understanding that, hey, I'm different and I'm more like you in this way. And that's not a bad thing.
Even
I don't
body
have-
conscious
Yeah.
white women are like, girl, you're thick and big. That's good.
No, you're right.
You look
it's
good.
Amazing. It's
You don't look
amazing.
good when you're like this, or you don't shine. They get that shine from Black women.
Exactly. I remember Gwyneth Paltrow got a lot of heat for saying that white women could learn from Black women to be more confident. And maybe it was said wrong, but I kind of get it. That's kind of what I'm seeing. They're understanding the way that Black women have lived their lives, and there's something good about that. And I think I appreciate that appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did something really amazing to me. I suspected that I needed it, but I started to see myself on camera talking out of one side of my mouth. And then before I came to see you, I was like, bitch, I'm going to get some lips. Because I never had skinny lips. But with age, you lose volume in your face.
Yeah.
And I talk with a snarl. Cara identified that. She was like, but you talk with a snarl too. I was like, I talk with a what? You see my lip just went up?
It's good. It's very characteristic.
Right.
Yeah.
And as a result of that's how your face, your personality, right, is how your face will age.
Yeah, you use certain muscles more than others. You metabolize fast.
So I was talking literally because of the volume out of the left side of my lip. I was talking out of one side of my mouth. It looked crazy. And I went to you and you fixed it. It was just a small thing.
Yeah.
I was like, that must be what everybody else is doing these little small things. Because I don't notice nothing.
Yeah, that's what
and
it's
no
about.
one noticed it.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's about like,
They say, you look good. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I tell them,
Yeah.
I came in here, I was a little, well, I wore my mask, because that's a great thing about having a mask. But I came into work and I was self-conscious, but I wasn't. And halfway through the day, I took that shit off, and I was just like, and looked like I got punched in the mouth on the left side. How many people do you see with problems versus people who just want to be, who want to maintain the little bit of? Because I have to tell you, it was such a taboo thing. God, time flies so fast. 20 years ago, to do anything. And I was like, I've seen some horrible
I've seen
friends that and it's body morphation.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you, but I went to, I did Fraxel. Do you know the Manhattan Dermatologist place up on 34th?
I used to work there.
Oh, you did?
I worked there for almost 5 years.
You did?
Yeah, 4.5
What's it,
years.
Dr. Geronimus?
Yeah.
Amazing guy, right? Ish.
It's an amazing center.
Yeah. I went to Dr. Bernstein.
Oh, Dr. Bernstein's lovely. He's
right?
wonderful, yeah.
I saw the difference.
Yeah. He's a wonderful guy. Wonderful guy, yeah.
But that's where I discovered Fraxel. Some type of a laser that would not take away my freckles. Could you see me showing up one day without freckles?
It would be devastating.
I was like, fuck that. No, I'm not doing
devastating.
anything that is going to take my freckles away. That would be crazy.
Yeah, and even better than the Fraxel, we can chat offline. We can do, but like a microneedling radio frequency. Have you ever tried that for the scarring? I love that because it's not going to take off the freckles, and it's deeper than Fraxel, and we can push more energy without causing hyperpigmentation. That's my favorite for like
hyperpigmentation and me are friends.
Yeah,
because I got freckles everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is like it's deeper. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll try that.
We'll chat.
Whatever makes you feel good about yourself, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, like I want the best skincare. I do my own skincare. I like to go to the spa once or twice a week and sit in the spa with my skincare or with my body stuff.
Yeah.
And it just makes you feel good, and you feel like you look good. And if you feel like you look good without doing a lot of anything, that keeps you happier.
It's empowering.
Right? No?
Like when you feel good, you do better. You know, you're better for
Right.
your work, your life, your family. But yeah, that's what I always say in my office is that we're empowering women. You know,
Is there any other dermatologists in your office?
Just me, but I'm in the process of hiring. But it's like a marriage, so I'm trying to find the
yeah.
right person who can like love my patients the way I love my patients. So it's like finding that right hand that is like an extension of mine.
That is really hard.
It's really hard. Yeah, I'm willing to train, but they have to be me. You know, not me, but they have to love and care and really take ownership of their patients.
How do you find somebody like that?
It's hard. You know, I have a lot of mentees, and so you know, trying to like find. I'd love to.
You have to find the right personality.
Yeah, the right personality. Someone who's serious about it, who loves it, and you know, it's a labor of love. So you have to be available. When I say the right
personality, I mean the person with the right heart and ethics.
Exactly.
And
heavy on the ethics too. That's hard to find too.
No, it is.
Yeah.
And seize the opportunity.
Yeah.
Without being an opportunist. That's a hard thing, I believe, with this generation. is that, yo, we didn't just step here.
Yeah, there's a lot of blood and scars and tears that went into it.
And it was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But how we learned, or our journey was, you know, it was not cookies and cream.
Yeah, and the journey is a part of what makes you excellent, right?
Exactly.
So you can't just
and we weren't snowflakes.
Mm-hmm.
We were told what we were told. We were taught how we were taught. Nobody caught feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from that generation of wanting to have been with a company for 30 years.
Yes.
And we realized that wasn't really reality.
Yeah.
But you wanted to have longevity in whatever you created.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that can't still be not true, no?
It's hard. I think
Because people don't even stay at jobs long
yeah,
enough.
the new generation. A lot of people are told if you work at a place for more than 2 years, you're
Yeah.
actually failing. Like you really should just keep moving and searching opportunities, not just moving laterally, but aggressively.
I would love to come work with you and quit doing this and be a dermatologist.
I would love
I'd stay with you forever.
I would love it.
But I just don't think that people understand that, like, when you're coming in under someone who's already, and I don't think I've arrived. Mm-hmm. You probably don't think that you've arrived.
No, there's a lot of growth.
There's so much growth.
Yeah.
Even now, I tell my assistant and other people that I've worked with or that work, like, yo, if one of my peers who's doing an amazing job and asks me to assist them, I'm gonna show up like it's my first day of school.
And that's what makes you great. And
how do you think you get there?
Mm-hmm.
By learning and watching everything, by mimicking the person.
Exactly. And
I do mean mimic the person.
Yeah.
And there's nothing but good out of that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to copy you.
Yeah.
I just want to show up for you, and I'm gonna get something out of it if I show up for you.
Exactly. And
not me.
I hope to be that way until my last day practicing, because
Yeah.
I think that's what makes you excellent, is never forgetting you can learn from everyone, even junior people. You know, there are people that are younger than me that are maybe, you know, doing something different, handling their social media differently,
Right.
or doing something. You can learn from everyone.
You learn from your clients.
Yeah.
You learn
from your clients.
yeah.
Exactly.
You learn from some of your patients.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine everyone that shows up to you shows up with something a little different from the
Yeah.
last person that you've got to
Absolutely.
brainstorm into figuring out. If that doesn't fit into this equation, there's something for that. And you're learning at that point.
Or they're doing something at home, and I think to myself, oh, I can optimize this with
Yeah,
my
yeah.
tools. You know, you figured out something that works for you. How can we optimize this together? And you're right, always being open to like learning from everyone.
What do you think about oils, like essential oils, the power of natural?
So I think there are some that we don't have good data yet, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
So like for hair loss, the rosemary oil data, we always say it, but it's very,
How is
very
that?
tiny. It's a
Is
very
it-
small study. It's like 25, I think it was 25 to 50, too small for us to feel strongly about it.
Yeah.
But it's like a kind of like a proof of concept, like it might work. And now because so many people want it, now there are some bigger studies on the horizon. So that has a role. Like there's a role for like
And you know how this shit
peppermint oil.
happens, right? As a
Is
brand. Your lab,
Mm-hmm.
who produces your products, will tell you if you're going to launch a new SKU.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, Manoia oil is really good. It's really trending right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Trending, right? But that's what happens.
Wait, what did you say? No, dude, I'm not working on trending. I just have this ideal about a product and I wanted to do this. You don't have to put that in there. But
Exactly.
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Skincare is the same way.
It
you
is,
know?
isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But who was it that really brought in pharmaceutical grade skincare? Bath and Body Works. It was sold in Bath and Body Works.
Huh.
And she was along with that group that owned again Bath Body Works, Victoria's Secret, and God, what is her? She slips my mind. I'll find
Pat
it later.
Wexler?
Yes.
Pat Wexler. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, she's lovely. I mean, there's so many. Like, if you think about like early Clinique, they actually had a physician. Because that was one of my first brands that I worked with intimately.
Was
but
it?
They were physician founded too. One of their Dr. Ornstein.
They had the great marketing.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
3 steps.
And so they kind of were the first really popular skincare routines.
Yes,
so there are
they
a lot
were,
of like
weren't they?
physician-led brands like that. But it's important, you're right, you can't go on trends. You actually need real research. So the line that I'm working with now,
Yeah.
that we it actually started with scientists. So I found PhDs that had really cool molecules and didn't know how to incorporate it into skincare. I think that's where you start. You know, like finding real innovation, because a lot of people just, you white label things, you find the trending ingredients, but real innovation starts with the scientists, and we are the clinicians, but they're the scientists. So you need that partnership.
Right.
You know?
How do you find them out?
I look for their papers,
Oh, okay.
and I talk to other PhDs.
That's your industry, so you know how to find them.
No, but also you talk to other PhDs. Like you look for their papers, you look for what they're studying, you look for who are like ingredient experts, and then in the industry, I've made friends with them, so they'll have a buddy who they've seen at a conference who's working on this. So I look for like ingredient experts, and then I work from there. Yeah. I think that's the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you plan on?
Is
this yours or someone?
No, it's mine. It's something. Well, we're kind of working on it now, and it's to be decided. A lot of people have tried to like push me to make something or join another group, or but I think if I'm going to do it, I want it to be true innovation and not just
it has to be
not just a PR job. Not just like I put my face on it. If I'm doing it, it needs to be a change in the market.
I think there was always much more innovation in skincare. Than there was hair. I modeled hair rules after skincare.
Amazing.
Skincare for your hair.
Yeah.
Because the fragrance for skincare, particularly European skincare, was always clean for me.
Yeah.
And I wanted a product that was clean or that was gentle. Like,
nice.
Remember they told women in the 90s, like, stop washing your hair every day. And I was like, fucking make products or formulations so that she can do what she wants to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop washing your hair every day from drying her hair out with those harsh shampoos.
Yeah.
And discovering, remember sulfate free at the beginning of the natural hair movement? I was like, so that meant that every shampoo that we used before sulfate free was basically dishwashing liquid.
Yeah, and it's because now behind the scenes, it's because like sodium lauryl sulfate is so cheap. That's why it ends up in every ingredient. The smarter like amino acid based ones are much more expensive.
Right.
And so it was a cost decision, not really putting the client first. Yeah.
Innovation.
Yeah.
You are innovation. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that we did this.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I enjoyed our discussion, our conversation. And I hope everyone goes to see Dr. Michelle Henry.
Thank you.
You are a breath of fresh air and also you're nice. You're kind. I would tell you anything.
Thank you.
Right? And so I think oftentimes people get really intimidated going to a dermatologist because of their existing problem has them so taken. Particularly women who are losing their hair.
Yeah.
No?
Oh, no. Yeah.
That's a scary
we hold
thing.
so many hands. There's so many like happy and sad tears in the office, or breakthrough tears sometimes.
Yeah.
So they can finally like let it go, and feel safe.
Right.
And cry it out, and we know we're in this journey together.
And like it's not so bad. We can fix it.
Exactly.
And this will happen. That'll happen.
We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of breakthroughs. I always say I'm part dermatologist, part psychologist, but I'm proud of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially for Black women, it's just so much more than hair. It's just like it's your full identity in many ways.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it really breaks you when it's not where you think it should be.
Yeah. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
For sitting in my chair.
No, thank you.
For sitting at my table.
Lovely.
Or coming to the Hair Rule Salon.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Stunning.
And we will see you in a couple weeks.
Yes.